Allie with PotomacBeads.com and PotomacBeads.eu, and we're really excited to launch for you our new RounDuo Minis. This tutorial is going to feature this new RounDuo Mini in a 2-hole peyote style with a little bit embellishment on the top. So gather up materials, get ready to learn peyote with 2 holes, and have fun embellishing the top of these RounDuo Minis. So to begin my RounDuo Mini peyote, I'm going to leave about a 8-inch tail after a stop bead. This is a bead that's going to come off the project, but is going to hold the beads as I'm working with and creating my peyote line. I'm sewing through this stop bead 2 times, and again leaving that nice long thread end exposed for us to put on our lovely Claspgarten clasp. To start the peyote stitch, I'm going to be adding in 4 of my RounDuo Mini beads. I'm going to let those drop next to that stop bead. And you can see they already kind of set up and sit like I want them to. Getting in there and starting off that 2 of them, the original 2, 1 and number 3 are going to kind of sit down. And we're going to start at number 4 and go back to reverse the peyote stitch. To do so and add in my next bead, I'm going to throw in 4 of my 15-0 seed beads in the gold color, and so back through the second hole of the last RounDuo Mini bead. When I bring the thread then towards the start, those 4 beads are just going to kind of sit exposed there on the outer edge. From here we're going to start what's actually our 3rd row of our peyote stitch, and every bead that we add from now on is actually going, or every row of peyote rather, is actually going to be adding 2 beads at a time. So each row gets 2 additional new beads added. I'm going to pick up my next RounDuo Mini, going through 1 hole and stringing through the second hole of the second bead that we originally put on. Next one is coming out kind of here on the end. I'm going to put on 1 more of my RounDuo Mini, because remember, always 2 per row. When I get to the end, just like we did, and it's so simple with 2 holes, on go 4 15s to decorate the end, and reverse your thread and needle back through the other way. The reason I love these 4mm RounDuo Minis is because it is going to allow you to get this nice peyote look with the rounded bead, but you're not seeing a lot of extra thread exposed because it does have 2 holes versus a 1-hole bead where you're going to see a little bit more thread exposed. They also sit really nicely, almost like puzzle pieces or building blocks. Again, after you add your second RounDuo Mini on to each row, go ahead and throw on those 4 gold seed beads. Head back the opposite direction to start your next row of your peyote stitch. I give a nice little tight pull at the end of each little row there, making sure that it's nice and tight and that I don't see any extra thread exposed. After adding another RounDuo Mini, sew through the second hole of the RounDuo from the previous row. Now the nice thing with this stitch is it's just going to repeat over and over and over again. So you add your second bead, and after you add your second bead to each row, you pick up 4 15-0 seed beads, and once those 4 15-0s are on, you reverse the thread through the second hole of that same RounDuo Mini. If you would want to use 11s to decorate the sides, go ahead and switch from a 4 count to a 3 count. And again, here's where I was saying how the thread is exposed a little bit. Give a little bit of a tight yank on your thread, not your needle, because you don't want to jeopardize the thread that's actually inside of the needle and fray it at all. So go ahead on then and you add 2 more beads. Add 1 in, sew through the second hole of that RounDuo Mini from the row before. Add another RounDuo Mini. While my needle is right there, I'm going to go ahead and add my 4 15s. And I'm using a size 10 needle. You could use a size 12 if you want to. I like the stability with these heavier 2-hole beads to actually use a size 10 when possible. Go in, do a little tight pull, and then continue on adding in the next of your seed beads and your RounDuo Minis, the whole way till you get the length of your bracelet. When you get to your desired length, it's going to be time to go ahead and put on the clasp. I'm then going to decorate just the middle just to make it pop and a little bit kind of different than your average peyote, and take advantage basically of those 2-holed beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be coming out of my peyote, and here's where I'm going to grab some of my 11-0 golds, so switching from the 15s to the 11s, and we're going to add an 11-0 gold and sew through, just like if I were adding more beads, but you're just adding one 11-0 seed bead. Coming out then, I'm going to add 2 11-0 seed beads coming out that RounDuo Mini. Go up through my clasp, come back through that first 11, give a nice tight pull, add another 11-0 seed bead, and go back through that last RounDuo Mini in the same direction. So it makes a little triangle there. Again, I'm going to repeat going through those 2 seed beads through my clasp, and this is going to reinforce it. Back down through that 11, back through the 11 on the other side. I'm going to do it one more time since this is a little bit of a heavier clasp, going through that RounDuo Mini, up through the 2, and also through the clasp. If you want to use a wire guard, you can use a wire guard as well. Back down the clasp then, through those 11-0, and that's going to get you 3 times that you have that nice reinforcement. From here, I'm going to go over back through that mini RounDuo, and I want to add 2 11-0 seed beads, and then I'm going to sew through and come back through that same RounDuo Mini. I'm coming back through that first one there. And that's just going to put those 11-0s on the end, so then it looks really decorated. Coming out this middle bead here, basically, I'm going to be going through and jumping from one hole to the other. So see how the holes are kind of diagonal? That's where we're going to add and put on an 11-0 seed bead in. To put the 11-0 seed bead in, you're going to go to the seed bead in the same row. So you can see it's 4 established rows. You're going to go to the seed bead in the same row, and you're going to sew through. You can see I'm kind of going on at a diagonal. The thread's coming out that bottom bead, that second hole on the bottom RounDuo Mini. I'm going into the top hole of the next one in line. And that 11-0 is just going to pop in there, kind of sit right on the top. Going in then, coming out through that first hole. I'm coming out that first hole. I'm going to go to the next RounDuo Mini on the opposite side. Kind of get that one just to pop right in there. Coming out the RounDuo Mini then, one goes on, and you're going to pop through to the other hole of the same bead. What that's going to do is sit these 11-0s right on the edge. So we're basically just coming out the beads, putting an 11-0 right along the middle, and then popping through from one hole to the other, and decorating the top with those 11s. So you'll see the 11s will kind of popcorn back and forth along the top. Coming out the mini RounDuo, you're going to take another seed bead, and I'm going to go in towards the middle here, from one hole to the other hole along the side, making sure that all of those seed beads, because they will sit off a little bit, kind of sit towards the top. Coming out this one here then, I'll go back through, a diagonal through the next, and pop that seed bead right along the top. So you can see that nice decorated designed look. Coming out along here then, add one more, go on the diagonal, coming out then, it pops that 11 right on the top. Getting a seed bead, going in the diagonal, so you're always going basically to the middle 2 rows on that diagonal, adding in an 11-0 on the top. Now obviously you don't need to do this step. This is kind of one that's just an added little design. It actually makes the bracelet semi-reversible depending on your clasp, and it has those 11-0s then sitting right in the little center of that design getting in that more of that gold color. So again, you don't have to put those gold beads in. You can put the gold beads on. I like the additional shine of that gold that it's adding into the middle of the design. So I'm going to continue adding in my little 11-0 gold beads, and that'll get me back to the starter side in order to put my clasp and attach on the other end. As you get to the end of the design, you'll see that nice kind of royal look that you have between the gold and the silver. Again, it is a little reversible. If you want to see more silver, you can wear that side up, or the gold, which I really think helps to make it. We are going to attach the clasp now to the other side of the bracelet. The bracelet, actually, I got excited. It started becoming a little bit big, so I went ahead and took off my stop bead and actually took off a couple of my beads as well. What I'm going to do now is actually push that stop bead that stop thread out of the way. I added additional thread, and I added the additional thread in white thread so you could see kind of the stop versus the starter thread. And what I'm going to do is remove the clasp, so that way I have just the clasp that I'm working with and not both ends of the clasp. And once I remove the clasp and remove the end here, I'm going to go in here, and then I'll just connect this side to the other side. And what I'm going to be doing, like I said, is kind of pushing that stopper thread back and basically repeating what I did on the other side. Then we're going to have an 11-0 seed bead that is going to go, we're going to connect, sorry, one more here. I'm going to go 11-0 seed bead, go to this outside starter thread here. And I want to be on the outside hole of one of the starter threads. We're going to add 2 11s. We're going to add our clasp up through that clasp, just like the other side. The other side, it looked like we were going through the clasp, but we were actually going through the little eye portion. Coming back down through an 11. Remember sharing that 11. Adding one more 11. And sewing back through that same RounDuo Mini. Just like we did on the other side, we want to make sure to really reinforce it. Going through and adding in multiple times through the clasp. And if you are using a wire guard or a button, you'd be doing that as well right now too. And as we're getting that multiple times through that clasp, then we're going to mimic the other side, where between the RounDuo, the Mini, the last two, I'm going to put an 11-0 seed bead. And that's going to cover up that space. And then to get that triangle on the other side of it, we're going to go and sneak back through the RounDuo Mini there, back through the top one and the second one in. Give a little pull. And you can see I'm kind of caught by the thread there. I don't want to go through the thread, so I'm going to sew to the back because I want to get the second hole of that mini RounDuo. Sewing down then through that mini RounDuo. We sewed right along that peyote line. And now 2 more 11-0s go on to finish off the project. And then back up to that second hole of the mini RounDuo in the middle. One more time then, I'm going to reinforce my clasp, going up through the 11 that sits there, going up through that 11-0 in the middle, through my clasp, and the hole there along my clasp. And as I go through the hole there along my clasp, then I am going to come down along the side. And what I'm going to do is come down along the side till I get to the starter thread. So I went through the clasp, back through the 11, back down towards that starter side, through the 11-0 that's next to that RounDuo Mini. The thread ends are now right next to one another, and because I have a back and a front established, I can simply tie those two threads together. What I'm going to do then is separate those threads so I make sure that I don't see the knot. What I'll do actually is sew the thread back down into the project a little bit. Grab my thread burner and burn off my thread. For this Royal RounDuo Mini bracelet. What you want to do then is decide whether or not you want to make it single toned like this, whether or not you want to do it all in one color. I was contemplating actually doing a pearl little seed bead look in the middle, or putting a 2mm crystal around there. You can see I sewed down through that bead there, or sewed down that one end there of my starter thread, and I'm going to go back. Since I decided to embellish the middle a little bit, I didn't need that starter thread. I'm just going to sew back through this peyote a tiny bit, staying again to the back of the bracelet. And as I go then into the middle of the bracelet, I'm going to go ahead and burn off that extra thread. Nice and flush against the project. And there I have this Royal RounDuo peyote. Is nice and finished. I have a fancy clasp to wear. You could do this as a choker, you could do it as a modified ring, you can do it as a bracelet, you can do it wider, you can do it narrower. The cool thing again that you have going for you with the multi-hold bead is if you do an even count peyote like this, you have that pretty scalloped look on the side that you don't get from a single hole bead because you're not having the opportunity to go through a different hole in the bead. It also allows you to hide a lot of thread and make a seamless look if you are going without the embellishment. Again, I used almost exactly an entire tube of the RounDuo Minis, but I do have a fairly small wrist, and the clasp did take up almost a full 3/4 of an inch for my bracelet. Keep in mind the clasp can really make or break the project as well too, so if you're taking the time, put a nice clasp on the end. If you need a link to any of these seed beads, the Duracoat Galvanized 15O seed beads or 11O seed beads, they are the Miyuki brand. You can go below the video to the links that we provide in the description of the actual project. Same with the actual Claspgarten clasp, which is the crystal diamond clasp, and it is a lovely 18 by 10mm clasp there. That looks great on the end of this bracelet. If you get a chance to play around with the RounDuo Minis, there's tons of patterns coming up and tons of designs. It'd be great if you could give me a little thumbs up if you like this video. That helps me to know when you like things, the style that you want more of, as well as what you would like to see more of on this YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let us know and comment exactly what you are making or ideas that you may have or questions or comments. We'll try to get back to you there. As well as you can join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. There is a wonderful interactive group where a lot of us will kind of show off what we make, ask for suggestions, ask for ideas, and it's a wonderful, interactive, inspiring group. As always, with every project, have fun with what you're doing. Make it your own. Have fun creating and adding design elements as well. Have fun making, creating, and playing with the new RounDuo Minis.